Right, so I've got 5 minutes in the shed. So as you can see, I've got the engine out of the bike now. I'll drop a photo into the video so you can see the engine on the bench. Now, next stage, I think I'm going to take the forks out first, forks and front wheel. Now, the problem here could be with this stand. You can see the stand there. What I've done is I've taken out the wheel loop. Right, so the wheel loop's gone. So now the front wheel is just suspended in midair. It's just like hovering there. Now that's fine. I've got the engine or frame cradle there holding the frame up, and what I've done is I've put a strap around it. Now the reason I've done that is when I take that front end out, the bike's going to be pretty rear heavy on the stand, and the stand hasn't got the biggest footprint in the world. I don't know if the stand's going to fall off over backwards or not because of all the weight being on the back. I'm going to take the wheel out first, see how it goes. I might need to take the back wheel out as well to balance the frame out before I take the forks out. We'll find out. Right, interesting thing. Now you've probably noticed that as I take stuff apart, I like to have a look at it and see what was going on with it at the time. Now I've just taken the front wheel out. Now taking the front wheel out of these kind of 70s forks, they've got this block which kind of screws onto the bottom of the fork leg, and then the spindle of the wheel is held in there. Now this one looks like a proper 70s Triumph BSA fork block. If you look at it, it's kind of shaped to the four studs, and it's got the spindle cut out in there, and it's kind of nicely rounded. There's some casting marks, machining marks on it. That's all pretty much normal. We've also got 4 nuts and 4 spring washers which come off it. Now the other side, one stud came out instead of just the nut. There's no problem, we can put that back in. It's got the other 3 nuts came off. There's only 2 spring washers, and the other 2 are plain washers, so that needs remedying. But the other block off the bottom of the forks, if we do a comparison side by side, you can see the difference. This is a really odd shape. And the spindle cutout is pretty much okay. And the hole centers are all right, pretty close. However, this looks like it's been cut out of a solid block of aluminium. If you look around the outside, you can see kind of file marks where someone's hacksawed it out of a chunk of aluminium and then just made a fork block. I mean, it seems to work okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with it as such, but I might try and get a proper one as I put it back together, because it just doesn't look very nice. Either that, or I'll attempt to shape it into a better shape, more like the original. Shouldn't take much work with a file and a hacksaw. So yeah, interesting bits as we're taking it apart. And the bike didn't fall off the stand, which is good. It is a little bit heavy on one way though, so I think next job is that I'll take the back wheel out. Well, that's the wheels out, so the bike's pretty much balanced now evenly on the stand, so I can still work on it. Time to take the suspension out. was interesting about the forks. Okay, so everything on this bike, pretty much everything on this bike has just fallen off. I mean, the bolts were, if not new, fairly clean, and everything has come undone like it was never torqued. Right, so everything's fallen off it. However, the forks, the clamps, the two clamp bolts, I don't think these are the right bolts. These are threaded all the way along. They should be a shouldered bolt for these and then threaded at the end. So we'll probably change those. But the clamps were super tight, so I took the bolts out of there. I tried putting an old rounded screwdriver in to open the holes up a little bit so I could pull the legs out. Weren't budging at all. So these caps came off pretty easy. These are the caps that go on top of the fork legs, and the little tubes there go inside the spring onto the dampers. So these came off pretty easy. Good job, because I don't have a socket that'll, or a spanner. Well, I do have a spanner, but I don't have a socket that'll fit it. Luckily, they just they weren't tight at all. That came off pretty easy. Now I couldn't get the fork leg itself out of the top yoke, or as the Americans call the triple trees or something. Now what happens is the bottom yoke here, let's pick that up before it leaks oil everywhere. The bottom yoke here clamps, right? So that sits on there, and then there's a locking bolt which tightens it onto the leg. So that's just a clamp bolt on the bottom. But the top here is a taper, and that tapered part of the tube there sits in the top yoke like that. Now those tapers, it was almost like slip gauges. I mean, it was in there, it wasn't coming out at all. So what I had to do was unbolt the top yoke with this bolt here, unbolt that, then I could hit underneath it with a plastic hammer and break that taper, get that off, and then I could take the fork legs out, which worked quite well. Now the problem was both of the clamps on the bottom yoke were pretty tight, but taking this nut off the top yoke, which goes into there, if you look underneath it, there's a lot of kind of bruising and damage around there. I'm not sure why, but it's obviously had a bit of a kicking in the past, and that was super tight in that hole. I mean, even when it had come off the thread, oh, you see you can't even push it in the hole now. So something needs to be addressed there before it goes back together. And the other thing I need to address on the top yoke is the steering lock, because I don't have a key. So that'll be interesting. Apart from that, actually, taper all the bearings in the head look brand new. So it looks like someone's put new bearings in before they built it, which again is a bit of a winner, because that means I don't have to buy new bearings. So yeah, forks off, great. Right, so I've got the swinging arm out. Here it is. They're really interesting, actually, the swinging arms on these street scramblers. And I'll tell you why. Because the wheel end doesn't have any adjustment slots for the wheel, so you can't tension the chain, that end of the bike. You tension the chain with the swinging arm pivot end here. Right, now I'll see if I can show you. So this is the swinging arm pivot bolt. And you can see on the end it has this eccentric kind of adjustment kind of plate. So this is on one end. Now this is actually bone dry, a little bit rusty, which is a bit scary, because this needs to be super lubed and available and nice and loose, so you can adjust the chain, because you turn that around to adjust the tension on the chain. Now if I show you over here on the bike itself, so this is the hole where the swinging arm goes through here. Now what you have is you have two little dimples on the frame there, and what happens is this adjuster, dependent on how tight or loose you want the chain, depends on where that hole needs to be. Now if you put it on that hole there, now these are full of paint, so that's no good for a start. So that hole there is furthest forward, so that's the loosest setting for the chain, and then this hole here is the furthest backwards, so that'll be the tightest setting for the chain. Quite an elegant little design, really. It keeps the back wheel uncluttered, no chain tensioners on the back wheel, and obviously because you've got one hole at a time, it's very easy to make sure both sides are the same, so your back wheel's always straight, which is nice. Yeah, just thought I'd show you that. So that's the frame looking pretty naked now. No suspension, no swinging arm, no yokes, no forks. There's a couple of little brackets to take off, and then that's going to be pretty much ready for paint. I just want to do something with that bottom mounting bracket first. I'll take some measurements off that before I take it off the bike. What else have we got? We've got a battery tray to take off there, and we've got this plate here which is to bolt the side panels on. A couple of bolts there, that'll come off. I think then that is pretty much it. I'll take, if we can see this, I'll take the bearings out before it goes for shot blasting and paint, because I don't want to get those damaged. I will blank all this off prior to powder coat, obviously. Powder coat or paint, I'm not sure yet. But the finish on this is terrible. It's brush painted, and in some places, I mean like there for example, it's been brush painted with the yoke still on it because that's the original silver of the frame there.